You've been conditioned since you were born to think that life was outside it. And the awakening process is all about realizing once and for all that you have been living your life under a program. That program is called fear. Fear of what? Fear of the thing that human beings are most afraid of is that you are the one that has the answers. You are the one you've been searching, and you are the one with the power to decide what kind of life you want to live and create. And that's the scariest journey of all, because when you've been conditioned to think that the answer is outside of that part of you has to die. You're in a constant state of waiting. And then one day you wake up and realize that what you have been waiting for ain't coming. It was never meant to come. Creator energy asks the question, how did I create this? And that is when your entire life can change. When you leave the frequency of victim energy and you return to the truth that you are the creator of it all.
Before we embark on today's conversation, I want to pause for a moment to soak in the immense gratitude I feel for each and every one of you. Week after week, you show up here, lending your hearts, your curiosity, and your presence in this space. What a gift it is to share this journey with you. When I first began these conversations, I had no idea what they would grow into. A tapestry of connection woven together by your stories, your messages, and your reflections. This community is more beautiful than I could have dreamt, and it's all because of you. Every note you've sent, every story you've shared about how these conversations have landed in your life fills me with profound sense of joy and purpose. It reminds me of the magic we create together, the way we're learning, growing, and celebrating the tender, messy, and extraordinary moments that make us human. So as we look ahead to 2025, I am so thrilled to share that there are even more luminous conversations, soul-stirring guests, and transformative stories waiting for us. Together, we'll continue to dive deep, ask meaningful questions, and discover new ways of being. If this space has touched your life, if you've even found a slither of inspiration, I would love for you to join our growing circle by hitting the subscribe button. It's such a simple act, but it allows us to expand this beautiful community and welcome others into the warmth we've created together. And now, my friends, let's take a deep breath and step into today's conversation, a moment of connection and discovery that I hope will leave your heart fuller than when you arrived. Thank you. Have you ever woken up one day and thought, is this it? That quiet, persistent whisper in your soul asking if there's more to life than the endless pursuit of success, validation, or just getting by? Well, in this heartfelt and transformative episode, I sit down with the incredible Danny Morel, a man who has walked the path of awakening and returned with profound truths about healing, self-discovery, and stepping into your most authentic self. Danny invites us to explore the courageous journey of moving from fear to freedom, from victimhood to creator energy, and from seeking love outside of ourselves to realizing it's been within us all along. This isn't just a conversation, it's a call to action for anyone yearning to live a life of purpose, abundance, and truth. So, grab a cup of tea, find a quiet moment, and let's walk this road of self-discovery together. Your soul will thank you for it. Are you ready to be awakened? Let's begin.
Well, hello. And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on which side of the globe you are sitting on at this very moment. We have an amazing guest for you. I know you're going to love this guest. Welcome to the show, Danny Morel.
Thanks for having me here, Catherine.
I'm super excited. Like I said, after stalking you yesterday, I am in awe with your work. So the way that we love to start the show, we always love to ask our guests, what inspired you to do what you do today?
First off, before I answer that, I want to let you know that I have a massive audience in Australia. And I am promising them, I've been saying this we're going to go have our event Awaken in Australia in 2026. So I can't wait to go. It'll be my first time there. And Jen and I, my wife, are fans of the show. What's the show when the couple show in Australia when they're forced to they get married at Love at First Sight. Love at First Sight, Australia, and we love it, and we love seeing the land, and so we're going to spend like a month there, and so we're excited. We're excited.
That is super exciting.
Yeah, what caused me to do this work was my own awakening, was realizing that in my life, I was living a life based off of complete fear and separation from who I really was. I was so focused on receiving love and acceptance through power and through success and through money, quite frankly, that I had gotten to a point in my life where I reached the pinnacle of success. I had everything that the world told you or tells us we need to get in order to be happy, and I was still miserable. And when that happened, I realized that you will spend a lifetime looking for love, which is what you actually have been searching for in everything that you do, but you'll be looking for it outside of yourself. You'll be looking for it in relationship. You'll be looking for it in success. You'll be looking for it in power. You'll be looking for it in followers. You'll be looking for it in attention. And yet the truth is that everything you've ever been looking for has been inside of you all along. And when I discovered that truth, I just wanted to share it with the world, because I realized, my God, I spent 40 something years of my life living for the outside. And once you find happiness, peace, joy, and love inside of you, you go, I want the world to feel this, So that's what started me doing this work.
I absolutely love that. And so what was the actual turning point for you though? What was that like for you to actually go within and actually connect with that inner love?
Yeah. Normally for us human beings, how do I say this? Normally death is the thing that leads to life. Normally we have to experience some sort of a death in our lives to break our hearts and bring us to our knees. Because until we experience that death or that loss, it could be a loss of a loved one, loss of a relationship, loss of a career, loss of what we hold valuable. Until that happens, we have been living our entire existence and our entire life in the control of the mind and in the energy of fear. And when we live in the control of the mind, we literally are disconnected from our heart, our source, and the power that we have. We're literally disconnected from the power of who we actually are. And what I've seen time and time again is that typically what is required is something to die to get you to the place where your heart breaks and you are brought to your knees till you could finally allow your heart to open and for your healing journey to begin. And what happened for me is my mom passed away. And when she passed away, there was something that like unlocked inside of me spiritually that started to ask questions about happiness. If you want to start your awakening journey, ask yourself, are you happy? If you're in a relationship, ask yourself, are you in love? Ask yourself, do you feel fulfilled? And these are questions that we're normally afraid to ask because we're afraid of what the answer is going to be. We're afraid of what the truth will lead us to. We're afraid of that the truth of these answers will lead us down. Because the truth is the only way that we'll ever change our lives is if we have the courage to be real with ourselves, if we have the courage to ask ourselves the questions that we're afraid to ask. For me, the thing that I was the most afraid to ask was, at the time, are you happy in your relationship? I knew the answer. That's why I was afraid to ask it. Because it would mean that everything that I had built, the facade that the world saw when they looked at me, the guy with the family, the relationship, everything, it would mean it would have to die in order for me to allow my truth to be born. And that's the moment that we all go. It's like, are you willing to end the show? Are you willing to reconnect to your truth? Are you willing to start the journey of living from your authentic self? You have the courage within you to start that journey. The question is, are you willing?
I love that. I am so aligned with everything that you just explained right there, Danny, because the thing is, I also have experienced, I called it the dark night of the soul, and similar journey to yourself. And I always look at, I believe it's the meaning we give every situation. And so for me, my heart broke, but in that moment, it actually cracked open for me to see things so differently. But why does it always take for something really dramatic to happen? Or, like I see this often that we are so externalized because we've been conditioned this way that we're so, tied into this identity with the ego. This is who I am and what I do and where I go, that it's almost like to go through an ego death that's, without going to, ayahuasca trip or anything like that, but to actually do it physically yourself, it's one of those things. Standing in your truth is so hard because there's this thing that you don't want to hurt people. And, if you're anything like me, a recovering people pleaser, it's really hard to stand in your truth and be your authentic self. So how do you do it? Like, how do you do it without, I've been practicing it. I've had major changes in my life the last couple of years, but it wasn't easy. And you hurt people along the way.
Well, I don't know that you necessarily have to hurt people. And I don't know that you're responsible for other people's feelings. When you are ready to return to your authentic self, part of being authentic is being you. Is finally allowing your truth to live. It's finally allowing yourself to reconnect to you and what you want for your life. You've been conditioned since you were born to think that life was outside it. You listened and counted on your parents to tell you how to live your life. Some of you are grown adults out there right now that are still allowing them to control your life. Then you went into school and you were told that you had to listen to the teacher because the teacher had the answers for your life. And then you got a little bit older and you were told and then you got a little bit older and you went to church and you were told that the preacher has the answers for your life. And the awakening process is all about realizing once and for all that you have been living your life under a program. That program is called fear. Fear of what? Fear of the thing that human beings are most afraid of is that you are the one that has the answers. You are the one you've been searching for. And you are the one with the power to decide what kind of life you want to live and create. And that's the scariest journey of all. Because when you've been conditioned to think that the answer is outside of you, then guess what? That part of you has to die. Because when you're conditioned to think the answer is outside of you, you're in a constant state of waiting. So you're waiting for God to come back and heal you and save you. That's why you're waiting for your partner to change. Because you're in the frequency of waiting. That's why you're hoping and praying that someday your partner changes or starts to treat you better or whatever the case may be. It's because you're in the energy of waiting. And then one day you wake up and realize that what you have been waiting for ain't coming. It was never meant to come. What you've been waiting for all along is for you to awaken and realize that your partner is the way your partner is because the wounding and the energy in which you live from within is the very thing that attracted them. The victim energy that lives within you will wait forever for someone outside of you to change. Why? Because victim frequency puts the blame and the responsibility for all of life outside of you. Creator energy does something completely different. Creator energy asks the question, how did I create this? And that is when your entire life can change. When you leave the frequency of victim energy and you return to the truth that you are the creator of it all.
I love that. That just does take a lot of consciousness and accountability. I love the way that you talked about the waiting vibrational frequency that you're at, because yes, we are always projecting. And it's one of those things. It's interesting because somebody said to me the other day, well, that takes a special kind of thinking, because when something happens in my life, I don't look at it and say, well, it's happening to me. It's happening from within me. So what is it within me that I need to heal? Because otherwise I will continue these patterns because I'm projecting this onto my parents, my children, my whatever that may be. I only have one son, by the way, my child or my team. And so, but to do that, there's a level of accountability, and it's so much easier to blame or externalize things. So do you see this?
Society, the energy of society is the mind, fear, external, victim, blame. That's why it's easier. You were literally brought up in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, go on.
Let me tell you this. People get so caught up in politics. Why? It's because of the frequency of victim energy. They'll never be able to articulate that as the truth. But victim energy causes you to think that the answer for your life is outside of you. So someone gets elected that you maybe didn't agree with, and your life is over because how is it possible that all of these people voted? But how will my children be raised in this demonic world? It's because your subconscious wants to blame the result of your life on something outside of you. And that's why you're so caught up in politics. Because quite frankly, it's the same frequency as religion. Religion teaches you that the answer and God is outside of you. So you don't even realize you're doing this. You're energetically just doing the same thing with politics as you do with religion, as you do with relationships. Because I guarantee you that if you are caught up with what happens in the election, it's affecting your money. I guarantee you it's affecting your peace. I guarantee you it's affecting your body. I guarantee you it's affecting your life. And why? Because the energy that lives within you thinks of yourself as a victim, and therefore you will constantly look for ways to keep you in victim energy. You will watch the things that tell you you're a victim. You will listen to things that tell you you're a victim, and you will hang out with people that tell you that you're a victim. You will literally attract partners that keep you in victim energy. When is my partner going to heal? Let me tell you, never. Never, because it's not about your partner. It ain't about the president. It ain't about the government. It's about you. You are the one you've been waiting for your entire.
I love that. I love that. It's is it Jim Rohn that says we're the average person, well, the average 5 people that we hang out with. So I do believe that we have this on-flow effect. And I think you say that too, don't you? You say that when we heal ourselves and when we go through the transformation and transmutation, that we actually impact 7 people around us.
100%, because we're energy. We're energy. I'll give you this example. Today I posted a post. Any post. Let's say someone posts a post and you don't agree with it. Okay? Here's how powerful energy is. Here's how powerful you actually are. Someone posts a post that you don't agree with. And you go in there and you let them know that you don't agree with it. And when someone responds to you, you respond to them and you go back and forth, responding to these people. And it's something that you absolutely don't agree with it. But guess what you're doing unconsciously? You're feeding it. You and your energy are feeding the very thing that you don't agree with. And guess what that causes the thing you don't agree with to do? To grow. So you are contributing to the growth of the very thing that you don't agree with. This is how powerful your energy is. This is how the Instagram algorithm works, by the way. And you are so unconscious of it because you've been living in your mind and your ego your entire life, that your ego is in control of your actions. It's in control of your energy. And quite frankly, it's in control of the energy of the entire planet until you return to your heart. Because your heart is so powerful, it loves and accepts everything for what it is. It looks at the post you don't agree with and go, God bless them, I don't agree with it. But it doesn't need to engage because the heart doesn't need to be right. Only the fear in the mind means that.
So true. And I call that impulse control. When you get triggered, it's like, how do you stand back and just agree to disagree? You can actually be the observer of what's taking place without playing part of, because I remember when, I think it was back in 2021, and even with the politicians now, it's like, you're still participating, whatever rabbit hole you were down, you're participating in that energy and it's like adding fuel to the fire. It's getting bigger. Which you can just shift that focus from external to internal and really sit in the love and allow that to expand. That's where we're going to make the change and the shifts globally, collectively.
It's the only place. That's it. If you want to make more money, if you want to attract your dream partner, if you want to heal your relationship, if you want to heal your body of illness and disease, stop looking at anything that is negative ever again. Stop looking at the news. Stop talking to negative people. Stop allowing negative people in your life because you are the one that by allowing that is creating negative results in your life. If you watch something that tells you that the world is going to fall apart, guess how you feel inside? Like the world is going to fall apart. And then guess what you create? You create a life that is falling apart. Literally, your relationship will fall apart. Your money will always find a way to fall apart. Why? Because that's how powerful you are. You are the creator of it all. And when your relationship falls apart and your money falls apart, guess what the body will do? The body will just follow because the soul is constantly telling it, this world is not safe. This world is evil. This world is hard. And the mind keeps looking for news to verify the fact that the soul and the energy and the frequency that lives within is telling us that. The mind is always going to look for ways to confirm what the energy that you're carrying inside of you feels. So you'll keep looking for things to feel negative about, and you'll keep looking for things to feel afraid about. Why? Because you're afraid inside. And so then guess what happens? The body just says, man, there's a lot to be afraid about. I don't know if I can hold on to this negative energy for too much longer. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create illness and disease. Let's see if this wakes them up. Let's see if by creating this tumor or this illness or this whatever, let's see if it wakes them up so that they stop looking at the television, so that they stop looking at the news. Hopefully, this is a signal that will wake them up. But guess what we do? We just pop pills. We just pop pills to continue to mask. We just keep watching the negativity and we keep entering more negativity. When all along, all you have to do is shut off the noise and turn off the program. And if you have the courage to do that, if you have the courage to remove all negativity from your life for 90 days, 90 days, watch your mind hate it, watch your heart, your body, and your life.
I totally agree with you. I haven't watched the news. Well, I've never watched the news. I never grew up watching the news. I don't read the newspapers. I am actually very consciously aware of what I feed my mind because I'm a really sensitive, I'm a massive empath. So I'm really sensitive to that kind of stuff. But I love the fact that, yeah, and it's true, whatever you believe, even from a neuroscience perspective, our reticular activating system will find evidence for us to prove you are right in whatever you believe. Yeah. So and talking about beliefs, there's a lot of limiting beliefs. I feel like there's a lot of individuals that get stuck or encounter these limiting beliefs, but don't know what to do about it. What would you say to those people, Danny?
Stop watching anything negative. Like literally grab your TV and go throw it down the trash. If you were to do this, if you were to grab your TV and throw it in the trash, number one, you won't do it because you're afraid of how much it costs you. Because you are still operating in a world where you think of money from a limited fashion. I'm telling you that if you were to grab your TV and throw it in the trash and put all of the energy that you have put into your life, all of your energy that you have put into listening to things that distract you, that keep you in a negative frequency and in a negative energy, I'm telling you that you will find a way. And then you just close your eyes and tell Source, God, I am ready to start opening the channels of truth in my life. I am ready to receive a flow of limitless abundance. I am ready to connect to my truest power. I'm ready to live in my authentic self. And as a result, attract into my life everything that my heart knows it deserves. Watch what happens in 6 months.
Yeah, I do.
You will make 10 times the money that television costs you. It will be the greatest investment of your life. And then you can go out and put the TV back on because now you've healed that negative energy within you that needed the negative energy in the television.
There is also that fear of missing out.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. But it is a thing. So what about those deeper limiting beliefs of I am not good enough, I am not smart enough, I am not worthy enough that reside in that deeper part of our subconscious part of our mind?
All of the deepest limiting beliefs we have about ourselves, we learn from our mother and father. If you've ever felt like you were not good enough, you've ever felt like you were not worthy, you've ever felt like abundance is for other people and not for you, it's very simple. It's that at some point in time when you were a boy or a girl, when you were a child growing up, you saw your parents treat you in a way that unconsciously told you you weren't good enough to receive their love. And when you and your heart and soul, when you and your energy felt that, you were locked up. You were locked up unconsciously. And you've been living your life from locked up energy this entire time. Only when you start the process of healing that mother and that father wound, will you allow yourself, I'll say it this way, only when you start to allow yourself to forgive your mother and father, to accept that they did the absolute best based off of who they knew to be as parents. When you start to see everything that has happened in your life as perfect because it made you the version of you that you are today, then will you start to reconnect to the truth of who you are and finally allow yourself to see the truth that has been there all along. That you're worthy of whatever you want. That you're worthy of abundance, not because it's separate than you. That you're worthy of love, not because it's separate than you. You're worthy of love and abundance because you are love and abundance. You are everything you've ever wanted in life. And that's the journey. It's the most powerful journey we can go on, is the journey of forgiving, releasing, accepting, so that we can start the journey of returning to ourselves.
I am big on that. What are your thoughts of, because I do that, and I mean, there's a really fine line about with what I'm about to say, because I also look into spiritual bypassing, because I had a bit of an epiphany, Danny, a few years ago, that I was a spiritual bypassing, because I could look at things that have taken place over time. And yes, did a lot of the shadow work and the forgiveness and all of those things. Although when I was practicing forgiveness, one thing that I did experience is it was bringing back the picture of what I was forgiving, which I felt like I was getting stuck in a loop. But it wasn't until I accepted, which is what you alluded to, that things released. So there was a level of acceptance. But here's the thing, Danny, is that I believe that as souls, we chose this experience to learn whatever it was with our parents. I know for me, my mother's taught me patience. But I know there's not a lot of people that think that way. A lot of people would think, and easier to say that, and hang on to the things, the traumas, whether it's little t or big T.
Because that's what victim energy does.
Yeah.
The way, I'm not making you wrong.
No.
I'm just understand the entire premise of victim energy is to keep you in a constant state of blaming something outside of you for what is happening to your life. The entire premise of creator energy is for you to finally come to awakening to the truth that a part of you created whatever has happened in your life. Even if it was something that happened in your childhood, your soul called that experience in to teach you something that you needed to learn about yourself and about life, to help you to heal a part of you that needed to heal. And when you finally come to that realization, life becomes powerful. Because where at one point in time you were creating from negative energy by looking at everything as a negative outcome or a negative thing that happened, you start to look at everything in life from the lens of positivity, and gratefulness, and acceptance. And when you get to that point, you start to create your life from the lens of gratefulness, positiveness, and acceptance. You're no longer afraid. You're no longer afraid.
So how does one, because I know for me, I think about, and this is going external as well, although I don't watch the news, listen to the news, but for things like for things for me, like I hear and I see children in, let's say in Africa, who are starving, right? And so for me, what I can't get my head around, Danny, is I understand what you're saying, and I love the fact that yes, it's going back to your true self, because that's our purpose here, right? Is to remember who we are. Well, that's what I think anyway, to remember who we are. And so we've come here to, as a soul, we would have gone, wow, this is a really cool life. I want to experience that. And I know that I think that even about some of the children. I went for a 7-day fast in Thailand, and it was a trip. It was a trip in itself. But then I was thinking about the children. How do they? I mean, they don't have food for a lot longer than 7 days. And I went through this whole my own little rabbit hole, going, how can we let this happen? How can this? And then it was this whole epiphany as a soul. Maybe they chose that experience, right, to learn and discover and experience something.
Not only that, but how could you actually make it? Like, it's one thing because I got this very often, like, when the war started, people are bombarding me with messages. How come you don't speak about the war? How come you should speak about the war? You should speak about. I never said a word. Because go back to the example that I gave you earlier about Instagram. When I do, I feed the very thing that I don't want in this world. Because someone is going to agree with me, which, by the way, agreeing is only their ego feeling satisfied, and someone is not. There is no right or wrong. Everything just is. And so if I want to heal the world, and if I want to help heal the war, and if I want to help heal the children in Africa that aren't eating, well, number one, what if I were to heal myself? Number two, you guys are going to get pissed off at this one. What if I were to go heal all of my blockages with money and get so financially abundant that then I can help those people and I can give to those people? Well, yeah, but you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that, do you? Well, why don't you want to hear that? Because that would force you to look inside of yourself. That would force you to take your damn powerful energy off of what I think about the war and cause you to go actually become someone that can actually do something about it. And it's much easier for you to get mad at me or whatever influencer for what they're saying or not saying, because that's easy, because you could sit there in your little underwear with your two little fingers talking shit to everybody. But what are you doing with your life to do something about it?
I totally agree with you.
That's what we don't want to face. We don't want to face the truth. We don't want to face the fact that, why don't you go become an abundant human being? A human being that when your family or when the world needs something, you have storehouses of cash that you can give to people. Why don't you go do that? Because you'd rather talk shit to the people that don't say something just because your mind is so fixated on what's happening outside of you. That's why.
I love that. I have a smoke on my face because it reminded me back in 2021 when we had the longest lockdown in the world in Melbourne, in Australia, and people were hitting the streets, and there was lots of people hitting the streets. I'm like, why don't you come and join us? And for me, it's this adding to something that I don't even be part of. And I was like, for me, it was about doing the inner work. What is it that I need to let go of? Because I was getting triggered by it. We all were triggered by it. And that's where I thought that we can make the profound change, is to do that deep inner work from a collective consciousness.
Hauled in being an Australian. I was sitting here watching from the US like, there's no way that I would ever allow anyone to control me like that. No way. Selling my house, moving. The moment there's a fire, I will never. That's me. Because one of my deepest values is freedom. Yeah. But when you're in the middle of it, you got two options. You can go fight, or you can close your eyes and see, what is this here to teach me?
Totally. That's one of my values. Freedom is massive for me. So I think the other thing that popped up when you were talking about Instagram and social media, that's still a form of, I mean, it depends obviously, because the algorithm depends on, what you use. I don't like social media. I have other people that do it for me, but what are your thoughts around that? Because I see people, including my son, we were having that conversation. I don't do social media. I just do Twitter, like X. It's called X now. And said, yeah, but you're still getting caught up in the narratives and you're still participating by talking about it. And so what are your thoughts about that?
What do you want to know?
It's the same thing though, isn't it? It's like the TV. It's like, it's the same thing. Social media platforms is exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's here to rob us of our power, our attention, and our energy. There's good that's being done with it, right? You could learn a lot. Like I feel like on our channel and the work that you do, there's people out there who genuinely are using it for good, but it's very difficult to like filter that out. Like, here's my challenge to all of you listeners. If you want to change your life, ask yourself, how freely am I giving my energy away to? And one of the easiest ways you can see how you're doing that is how many people you follow on social media. Ask yourself this question. Why do I follow so many people? What is it that I'm looking for? What is it that I'm hoping to get? What is it that they give me in terms of value? When you have the courage to start asking yourself those questions, for those of you that are out there that follow 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people, it's time to have a social media enema. It's time for you to delete 75% of the people you follow. Because the only people you should follow on social media is people who genuinely bring value to your life. People that genuinely teach you something, have something to offer you, not people you look up to. You shouldn't look up to anybody because there's no one on planet Earth to look up to. Not people you hope to be like, because there's no one on planet Earth that you should hope to be like. You should look up to and hope to be like one person, and that is you. And there's no way you'll ever be able to do that if you're constantly following so many people and giving your energy away so freely to so many people. Be very specific and very intentional about who brings you value and who influences your life in a positive way. And whoever doesn't, cut them. And watch, when you have the courage to do that on social media, watch what starts happening when you're on a date. Watch what starts happening when you're on a date and someone shows you red flags. It's all the same energy. It's all connected. Your energy, you've been giving it away freely to whoever wants it. It's time to stop that immediately. If you want to step into your truest power in 2025 or in the
I love that. It took us years to get onto social media because I used to call it the black hole. I think it used to suck the life out of people because all I see is people on telephones the whole time. Even couples, they'll go out for dinner or lunch and they're on their phones. They're not even having a conversation anymore.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, Danny, the other thing that popped up for me too, and I hear this all the time, this going back to what you were saying, seeking externally, but I hear people really want to discover their true purpose, what I've come here to do, what I've come here to experience. So what would you say to those people?
Yeah. Say that again. What have I come here to what?
So what's my true purpose? What have I come here to experience?
What have I come here to do?
To experience or to do? To experience and to do, yes.
Let me explain to you why we ask that question. Because we're in the mind. The mind is masculine. The mind is in a constant state of doing, of searching for an answer. That's the masculine, whether you're a man or a woman. And so when you're looking for your purpose, the first thing you have to do is disconnect from here, is disconnect from this idea that you and your energy and your life has to constantly be doing or searching for something. It's to disconnect from only living life in the masculine and realize that there's a part of you called the feminine that doesn't want to do much, just wants to relax, just wants to receive, just wants to allow. And when you can finally return to balance and harmony between both, then you can ask yourself, what is my question? What is my purpose? And when you ask that question from the right energy and the right place, you'll realize we have one purpose, and that's to return to our authentic self and to heal anything that happened in our past that is keeping us from living in our truest, authentic self energy. And as a result, creating our truest, most authentic expression of what we feel life is and how it should be lived. There's your purpose.
I love that. It is more moving away from the doing into the being, into just to accept and be present with what is. How do you do that, Danny? Because you're massive at what you do. You're a spiritual, I would call you a spiritual guru, being of service to millions of people. How do you not do and just be?
A lot of healing. A lot of healing. Quite frankly, you do it by living most of your life in doing and realizing that it didn't get you anywhere. Realizing that when you're in a constant state of doing, something's got to give. Like there's going to be a cost. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your relationship. Maybe it's the love that you can feel or receive with your partner. Maybe it's your relationship with your children. For me, it was all of those things. And so how do you stop doing? By feeling the pain, what doing does to you. That's all. And when you do that, when you allow that pain for you to, I'll never go back there. So then you structure your life in a way to where you could still be successful. No one's saying to not do that. You could still make an enormous amount of money. No one's saying to not do that. You could still make a massive contribution to humanity. No one's saying do that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say the only way that you do that at your highest capacity is to be both. Is to be both. Is to return to this. Because then what you do, it's like, I never work a day of my life. I don't work. I'm just me. I'm just me. And so that's why you don't even know what to call me. Spiritual, because there's no label, there's no title. I'm just living my life as me. That's it.
And you do that so well, so well. I try to practice dropping into the heart.
If you're going to do anything, do you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know, and I can feel that you're authentic. You really are authentic and genuine, and you stand in your truth, and I can see that. I can feel that. I feel that, as much as you practice getting out of the mind into the heart as often as possible, sometimes we get caught up in that doing, and you're right. It's not till you get the burnout or you get the loss in something at what cost. But once again, that takes a lot of consciousness to be present, which we don't often use, our level of consciousness.
Yeah.
So I am very, very conscious of your time as well. I want to ask one more question before we start wrapping up.
Sure.
And I think that because you were talking about abundance, and I know that you were talking about like with the war, and the real work is looking at your money blocks. And so I think that there's a lot of inner barriers that we experience that prevent people from receiving abundance. And even though I've done a bit of work on releasing money blocks, because I'm a giver, Danny. I don't know, hang on to money. I'm very much a giver. And so that in itself is a money block. It's there, if you go even a little bit deeper, I'm not worthy of hanging on to this money.
That's right.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you see, these inner barriers, and what would you say to those people? Because it's, I don't know if it's happening all over the world, but I seem to see it happening a lot around me, is that there's, whether it's inflation or whatever, it's all external. But at the end of the day, what can they do internally to have more of that abundant life so they're not feeling stuck and not being scarce, like have that scarcity mindset?
Yeah. Have the courage to decide what you want to live like. That's it. It starts with you. The reason why people don't start doing that is because again, remember this. But how is that going to happen? What I'm telling you, please listen to me. You are so powerful, so powerful. All you have to do is decide it. And that's it. And then allow it to come. And every day remind yourself of what you've decided you want your life to look like. Don't worry about how it's going to happen. You are so powerful that as long as you decide, stop hoping, stop praying, stop waiting. Because when you do all of that, what you're in is the energy of victimization. You're hoping for something to change. You and the energy of God are one. All you have to do is decide. Decide what you want for your life. Decide it in crystal clarity so you can see it. So that you could see it so much that you can feel it happening. And when you see it and feel it, and you remind yourself of it, and you tell God that you are open to receiving it, then how it's going to happen doesn't matter. Because you're so powerful, you don't have to worry about how it's going to happen. You just remind yourself every day of it, take the right steps, let it guide you. And if you truly allow it to guide you, you will see it will bring people, circumstances, and opportunities that don't feel right anymore. And you'll know. You'll know what's right for you. You'll know what's wrong for you. You'll know what's meant for you. You'll know what's not meant. Because you finally have the courage to decide what you want your life to be.
I love that. It's very powerful. I do agree with that because I believe that when you're praying, you're asking, you're actually projecting, you're lacking that very thing. So you're bringing more of that lack into your life. So, Danny, I am very conscious of your time. And before we go to our 3 shiny golden nuggets, are there any questions that I haven't asked you that you would like to share with our audience?
I mean, I think if they listen to this 3 times, they'll have the answers they've been looking for.
Yes. Yes. Okay, cool. And so as we wrap up this show,
For that, I want to thank you for that because your energies, your questions, it's what brought it out. So thank you so much.
oh, thank you, Danny. Thank you. One last thing, we wrap up with 3 shiny golden nuggets. So, Danny, what are those 3 shiny golden nuggets that you would like to leave for our audience today?
Number 1, there's nothing separating you from everything you've ever wanted in life. Number 2, all of the questions that you've ever had are within you. And number 3, God is not something outside of you that you have to wait for. You are literally God experiencing a human experience through this body. You, me, that we're all one. We all come from one place, and that is the energy and frequency of love. Yep.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Danny, I want to say thank you for your time, your energy, and your wealth of wisdom. You are powerful, dynamic. I love the way that you speak. It's like you're speaking to the soul. I'm sure everyone's going to reach out to you. So thank you once again for your time, energy, and namaste.
Yeah, thank you. And for anyone, just have them go to Danny Morel on Instagram. And I'll see them there.
We'll have everything in the show notes. So where do you hang out the most, by the way? On social media, on Instagram? Okay, yeah. We'll have everything in the show notes. Thank you so much, Danny, for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.